So it's been about 11 days since the Splitgate 2 beta released, and as we all know, the first few days weren't great, but the devs were quick to rectify issues regarding servers, bugs such as XP not going towards guns or your battle pass progress, and player purchases not being added to their accounts. As a result of this, the overall review rating for the game has gone up. I think when I made my first video about Splitgate 2, the reviews were sat at like 53-54%, so almost 50-50 positive to negative. Now, as I'm recording this, there are 4,128 positive reviews and 2,033 negative. That is a much better distribution of reviews. The game now sits at 67% positive. It is a massive shame that the devs had issues to begin with, because I believe that if they didn't have any of those issues and the version that we are playing now was what was put out at release, the reviews would probably sit somewhere in the region of maybe 80 to 85% positive. There was a massive onslaught of negative review bombing when the servers weren't working. I would be willing to bet that 500 to 1,000 of the negative reviews are due to issues that are no longer present in the beta. However, that does mean that now, over the past few days, all of the reviews that are coming in are based on the gameplay and not the fact that there were bugs or server issues. And we're still seeing quite a decent amount of negative reviews come in. If we take a look at the Steam review graph for the game, you can see that there is a drastic decrease in the amount of negative reviews. The graph is much more heavily towards the blue. However, if we look at some of these days, such as the 31st of May, there is still 147 negative reviews coming in. And if we look at so far on the 1st of June, 87. If we look at the 30th of May, 88. So there is still roughly 23 to 25% of the reviews that are coming in, so that's 1 in 4 players aren't enjoying the game. And I fear that this is a problem that Splitgate 2 is going to face. It has heavily devised the Splitgate fanbase. There are multiple players from the original game that say Splitgate 2, in their eyes, is a drastic downgrade from the first. Meanwhile, there are players who didn't enjoy the first that now say they enjoy Splitgate 2. There are players that played both and say they enjoy both. This game definitely isn't a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't please everyone. The question is, will it please enough people to survive longer than the first? If we take a look at 2 of the most helpful Steam reviews from the past 7 days for Splitgate 2, you'll see that one of the players has actually played 63 hours of the game. Another player has only played 2, but it was rated the most helpful review with 400 people finding it helpful. So I think that suggests that many people agree with this guy's comments. If we take a look at these, we can learn what some people think regarding Splitgate 2, and maybe get some ideas for how this game can be improved for full release. It is worth noting that this review is actually very constructive. It isn't negative in the sense that it just complains. The review starts off by saying it's praising what they can give. The solid foundation of Splitgate 1 is here, and the game has room to turn itself around. This review then goes on to say that the game feels like a downgrade in every way, sadly. The biggest gripe, and this is something that I see a lot of, is that the map design feels far less vertical. I agree. I've played 20 hours of the game myself, and I do feel like the portal usage has changed. I no longer feel like I'm using portals in gunfights. I feel like I'm using portals to traverse the map quicker. I'm not placing portals above or below enemies, or behind them in some cases. I'm placing them to get from A to B quicker, rather than sprinting all the way across the map. I'm placing all of my portals in a straightforward line, straightforward left or right. I'm not looking up and down, I'm just going horizontally with them. With some exceptions, such as the mostly big team maps, actually do have quite a bit of verticality, especially in the indoor sections. For example, just take a look at Ozone and Zenith. Those maps have 2 levels to them, and overall they just do feel more like standard FPS maps, like a Halo or a Call of Duty. It's not necessarily a bad thing for newcomers especially. They probably feel much more welcomed, which is where I think a lot of the positive reviews are coming from. However, players that are used to Splitgate 1 and used to that verticality are complaining. You have a very big divide and that is a problem. I do think that this comment though is quite easy to fix. The Splitgate 2 devs have said that they are doing a map remake contest, and people that remake some of the Splitgate 1 maps will get their maps added into multiplayer. This is a good way of bringing back some of those iconic maps and making sure there is diversity in the type of maps that people are playing. Just to name some Splitgate 1 maps that had tons of verticality, Club Silo definitely had, Abyss did as well, Highwind and Olympus. Some maps, however, were kind of like Splitgate 2 and pretty flat. I mean, Oasis was one level. There was no upper level. The only portals that were up high on Oasis were the ones at your base. Pantheon as well, which took clear inspiration from Halo 2's Sanctuary, was again one level for the most part. And personally, I actually enjoyed those two maps. And I enjoyed a lot of the maps from Splitgate 1. And I think this comment in particular doesn't really affect me. I enjoy the maps. I'm enjoying the game as a whole. I can't stop playing it. But it definitely seems like there's a certain audience that does want more verticality in Splitgate 2. And that seems like an easy issue to rectify. Add more portal walls to the existing maps that are higher up, and bring back some of the classics that people love from the first game to please that audience that want more maps like the first game. Now the next comment in this review I actually don't agree with, maybe some of you do, but this review says that weapons and hits don't feel like they give enough feedback to the player, making them feel light and floaty, and unsure of how much damage you've done to another player. I personally can't understand this section of the review. The game makes it very clear how much damage you're doing to another player. There is literally a health bar above their head. If you don't know how much damage you're doing to another player, you might be blind. If people are really wanting specifics, then damage numbers might need a return. They were quite useful in the first game, and they don't seem to be present in Splitgate 2, so maybe damage numbers can help with this. I personally think I'd actually turn them on. It would be kind of nice to know exactly how much damage you do. Players who really care about stats could learn exactly what the time to kill is for each weapon, what it does for a headshot damage, what it does for body shot, if there's drop off, etc. And the next section is something that is very present in a lot of these negative reviews as well. It's the nail in the coffin for a lot of people, is the microtransactions, which again I said personally, I don't mind. Yes, it's a beta that has microtransactions, it has a battle pass, it does have FOMO, the suspects that are usually in games in this day and age are there. This person says it doesn't belong in a beta. The Splitgate 2 beta is different. The Splitgate 2 beta is basically the full game release. When Splitgate 2 releases, you will not be downloading a separate app on Steam. The Splitgate 2 beta app on Steam is the full game. All that's going to change is that it won't say beta on Steam charts anymore, and the devs will remove a beta tag from wherever it exists in the menus, and then release an update, a big patch of bug fixes and optimization and, you know, player feedback adjustments that they've made, and probably some new maps and game modes to go along with full release. I said it in the last video, the game in beta has more content than a lot of shooters have at full release, so personally I don't mind that there is transactions in there. It's also your choice to buy them. You don't have to spend money if you don't want to. Just load up the game, play for free, exit the game. The only thing you wasted if you don't like it is a couple hours of your time. And at least you tried it. You don't have to open your wallet. So I don't understand this part of the review, but maybe I just see it differently to other people because it is present in a lot of the negative reviews. I didn't like it when Halo had a fully functioning store at launch, but every other aspect of the game was broken. But that's because every other aspect of the game was broken. The store in Splitgate 2 during beta was actually broken. You bought items and they didn't end up in your inventory. Behind the scenes in the, the back end of the game, they did. But for the player, you couldn't see them. So clearly, a working store wasn't actually #1 priority for the devs. This review ends off by saying they hope to see 1047 turn the game around because they truly like Splitgate 1 in concept and execution, and if the review is improved, they will change their review. This is a good review. It's constructive, it gives feedback, it doesn't really complain about anything too much, and a lot of people find it helpful. Now, if you remember that other review I mentioned, which had 62 hours of playtime, They also start off by mentioning maps. It does seem like maps are a heavy problem for many people. This review starts off by saying that maps do not flow nearly as well in the original, portal placement seems to be without reason, and does not integrate into maps well. Floor and ceiling portal surfaces are almost entirely absent. Agreed, there's like 2 on each map. And that multi-team only seems to utilise small portions of the maps, and they do seem quite large for 8v8v8. I don't know if I said this in the previous video, but there was a comment that said this, and I agree with this. The big team maps, while fun, and I did compliment them a lot, the outskirts of those maps are dead. All of the action, if you were to make a heat map of those, I guarantee all of the action is in the middle of the map. The outskirts just aren't utilised. I don't know how you'd fix this in Slayer modes, but for objective modes, it's an easy fix, especially for something like Hot Zone. Put more zones on the outskirts of the maps. Yes, they'll only get used when that zone is in play, but at least it gets used and they just aren't a cold blue compared to the boiling hot red where everyone is playing if you were to make a heat map. So as I said already, it does feel like maps are a big problem for many people. And while personally I don't mind them, there are a few issues, but I don't think they're necessarily bad. Seems like many people don't think they're suited to Splitgate's gameplay style. A few of the things that I keep seeing pop up are that you can't queue specific maps and modes. I think this will be changed at launch. The first game had one, especially when the player count was high. It makes more sense to have what is called a match composer when your player count is high, because you can evenly distribute the number of players across all those modes. Right now, the Splitgate 2 beta actually hit its all-time player count about 16 hours ago, but it has 12,000 players. That's on Steam. Again, let's assume that consoles have the same, so there might be 30 to 50,000 people playing at a given time. If you were to create 20 different possible game modes that people can search for, you'll be splitting up all those players, which means you'll be searching for a match for 4 or 5 minutes, and nobody wants that. Playlists are there for a reason. It's so that you can ensure you get a fast game. You might not want to play certain modes that are in the playlist, but at least you get games and you can play the game. I am sure that a match composer has been a discussion, and if player counts are high enough to warrant it, I think the devs will implement it. To me, the right decision has been made there. I don't agree with that section of the review. Maybe this player's just uninformed and doesn't quite understand the logistics of why that wouldn't be in a beta. But at full release, if the player count is high, I think it'll be there. The only other part about this person's review that I really agree with is related to challenges, and I think I said this in the previous video too. Challenges in this game weirdly take inspiration from Halo's terrible challenges that they did with Infinite that everyone complained about. For example, needing to get 50 to 100 kills with a particular weapon such as the SMG, which is locked behind a level reward unlock. You need to be level 22, I think, to get the Eros SMG, which means you can't complete that challenge until you've played enough of the game to even start working towards the challenge. This is very backwards. Kill rewards with certain weapons and on certain modes and things like that is just weird, very grindy, and in some cases is probably impossible for some people to reach because they have work and other aspects of life, which means they can only play 30 minutes to an hour of Splitgate, you know, a day or maybe even a week. Those kind of challenges just aren't possible for the casual audience. If I were to change this, I'd remove any challenge that requires the use of weapons that have to be unlocked. So keep it to assault rifles and maybe carbines or BRs, whatever you start with essentially. For secondaries, just have a challenge, get X amount of kills with a secondary. You don't need it to be with a heavy pistol or a burst pistol, just secondaries in general. Just summarize the challenge rather than make it specific, basically. And then do more things such as getting killing sprees or getting 5 double kills in a week, winning a game by a 25 point advantage in the big team mode, or things like that. Things that are actually doable by most players and aren't reliant on too many specific requirements. Now that we've been doom and gloom for the past 10 minutes, I do want to highlight, obviously, as I said in the beginning, there are more positive than negative reviews, and I think that will stay the case. There are positive reviews which I agree with massively as well. One frequent thing being, this game runs better than any other Unreal Engine 5 shooter I've ever played or seen. Unreal Engine 5 has a massively bad reputation for being terrible at making good performant games. The optimization is terrible. The tech behind Unreal Engine 5 is amazing. I don't want to get into details here, but basically in a way which everyone can understand. Epic made Unreal Engine 5 and told nobody how to use it. There's no documentation. Imagine downloading a program and there being zero tutorials, zero notebooks, nothing. You have to learn everything as you go. And that takes time. And that is why many Unreal Engine 5 games suck. Somehow, and maybe it's just because it's been out for a while now, Splitgate 2 is one of the best looking and one of the best performant games on Unreal Engine 5. And the other thing that's better than any other shooter on the market right now is the movement. The game is so smooth and snappy. Chaining Eros' rush ability with a slide down the ice and then jetpacking up as you reach the edge of a ramp can create some really cool movement and you just soar through the skies. It is incredibly fun, especially if you hit kills while you're going that fast. And those kind of moments are what separates Splitgate from the rest of the games on the market. Those are the moments which players enjoy the most. Those are the things that people like Mint Blitz are posting to social media and the Splitgate account is reposting. Him soaring through the maps using a sniper rifle, getting several kills before he lands again, soaring through the skies, flying up incredibly high because he did some weird movement tech, COD players jumping over and doing 360 no scopes and triple kill, flip kick, portal, swap weapon, reload magic. That's the kind of just like fun, fast, momentum based gameplay that people loved from Splitgate 1, and it's still there in Splitgate 2. But yeah, feels like some of the maps just aren't quite catered to it, specifically the arena ones. The big team ones, you can have those moments. There's not many of those moments on the core gameplay anymore. Overall, it comes back to something that I said in the last video. You can't please everyone. Splitgate 2 is a game that I don't think will ever please everyone, but you just have to make sure that you please the majority of people. Currently, it seems like it is pleasing the majority of people as the reviews are leaning toward the positive. I would just like to see it lean ever so slightly more towards the positive, and hopefully by full release it does, because I believe that if it does lean more towards the positive review side at full launch, this game will survive. I don't think that Splitgate 2 will be a chart topper. I don't think this game will be getting 100 to 200,000 players and be the top most streamed game on Twitch and be the most wishlisted game on Steam and all that stuff. I don't think it'll even break into the top 10. But I think it can survive with a respectable player count that is on par with peak moments of Splitgate 1, rather than just having like a 2-month peak and dropping. I think that Splitgate 2 has the potential to see consistent player counts of 30, 40, 50, 60,000 and just survive in like, you know, the top 25 games or something like that. Basically, it could be like in the top 3 shooters on Steam, but not the top 3 games on Steam. And I don't know about the devs, but I personally would consider that a success. There's so many games on Steam. If you can break into the top 25, 20, whatever, I see that as a massive success. If the game garners enough players to make the money back that was spent developing it and survive for 2 or 3 years, I think that's success. I'm having fun with it. I'm currently 20 hours in, or just about 20 hours in. Some of the friends on my Steam friends list have played a lot more than me. Some of my friends have played this game for, I think, 44, 50, one even 60 hours, and I can't stop playing it. So, this is, as I said before, gonna be the game that I main. It's gonna be the game I play the most, I think, especially in the shooter genre. And hopefully it becomes a main game for many others, only time will tell. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about Splitgate 2's gunplay and maps now that the server issues, XP and the store is fixed. And as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and shameless plug to end the video as usual. I am also making a video game. It's called Cross Planet. It has PvP and PvE. It will not be nearly as popular as Splitgate because I don't have the budget and I don't have the resources and I don't have the knowledge. But it's just a fun passion project that me and a small team have been working on for a few years, and if you want to wishlist it to help us out, feel free to do so. It releases when it's ready, and there'll be a playtest when it's ready for one. Hopefully in the next few weeks or months. Alright, thanks for watching this video, and goodbye.